So far, we've been talking all about house hacking for long-term rentals or 12 months or longer. But there's another super profitable way to house hack, and that's turning your house hack properties into short-term rentals like Airbnb. Now, short-term rentals often have much higher rental income potential when you're comparing those to long-term rentals. But they also require more attention and management and carry a little bit more risk as well. Today, we'll explore the challenges and the benefits of short-term rentals and what this could look like if you decided to turn your house hacks into short-term rentals. So some advantages. Probably the biggest benefit, and often the reason people do Airbnbs or short-term rentals, is the potential for much higher rental income. Unlike long-term rentals with leases of 12 months or longer, short-term rentals can generate more rental income because you're charging by the day, by the week, or even by the month. There is such a thing as mid-term rentals, which are typically somewhere between 2 to 6 month leases. And I'll probably make another video here in the near future on what mid-term rentals are. But anyways, with short-term rentals, by renting your property out in shorter time frames, the price per day is much more than if you break down what you're getting per day on your long-term rentals. So for example, say your long-term rental goes for $2,000 a month, which also comes out to $24,000 per year. When you break it down per day, this comes out to around $65 per day. Now, let's say after a little bit of research in your local market, your house hack compares to other properties that rent per day around $100 per day as a short-term rental. At 100% occupancy, this comes out to a little over $3,000 per month or $36,500 per year. As opposed to long-term rentals where you get paid each month, short-term rentals pay out after each reservation, so you're getting paid constantly as opposed to just once per month. So this all sounds pretty good, but before you start diving into short-term rentals, here are some things that differ from renting your house hack as a long-term rental that you should strongly consider. First off, you gotta have a backup plan. Easy way to do this is to evaluate whether the property will still cash flow as a long-term rental or not. There's a good chance your short-term rental will cash flow if it also cash flows as a long-term rental. This also gives you something to fall back on if the short-term route ends up not generating what you were expecting, or if it's simply just too much work and too much time to manage these things. Which brings me to the property management side of it. Short-term rentals are way different long-term when it comes to managing the place. This is probably the biggest learning curve short-term rental investors run into. They demand a serious amount of constant attention, which of course can be very time-consuming if you choose to manage it yourself. So be prepared for those added responsibilities. Specifically, be prepared for the constant turnover. You gotta clean the place after each reservation while also getting it ready for the next reservation. With constant turnover, you're also gonna have more and more people coming in and out, also in unpredictable intervals, which could drive up more costs in repairs and maintenance. So if you don't want to deal with all this stuff and have another full-time job, a property manager in most cases are well worth the money. You already know what I'm gonna say. Yes, remember that this is a business. If you can't handle it on your own, that is completely okay. A property manager can help with this stuff. And if maybe the numbers don't work when you're looking at the cost of hiring a property manager, if you ran those numbers correctly to see if it would still cash flow as a long-term rental, you always have that option to fall back on. Now, this next piece of advice is not really advice, but more of a strong encouragement: budgeting for vacancy. Now, you've already checked if it's in a strong area, high demand for short-term rentals, etc., etc. But you really need to consider the fact that your short-term rental will very, very, very unlikely have 100% occupancy all the time. If you ask the biggest short-term rental investors out there, I would place a bet that all of them will say they do not have 100% occupancy on all of their properties. This is a major adjustment from long-term rentals because there could be days or weeks of no bookings or no reservations. So when you're running your numbers on potential income for your short-term house hack, account for a much higher vacancy rate than you would with long-term and be extremely conservative with it. If the average monthly or annual occupancy rate in your market is 70%, run the numbers assuming 60%. If the average rent per day is $100 per day, run the numbers on $90 per day. This is the safest and most conservative way to see if your house hack will work as a short-term rental, just by seeing if the numbers would still work even with below market averages. And then we have short-term rental restrictions. We'll start with HOAs here. Whether you're buying a condo, townhome, single family, or even multifamily, double, triple, quadruple check if your property is in an HOA or a homeowners association. Do this first and then see whether or not short-term rentals are allowed. A lot of HOAs here in central Iowa have restrictions on rentals in general, and of those HOAs that allow rentals at all, most have restrictions on rentals under 12 months, and being in compliance with your HOA is crucial. But there are a handful of HOAs that do allow short-term rentals for at a minimum of 30 days or longer. Our next house hack that we're closing on here in a few weeks allow rentals of 30 days or longer, which is part of the reason why we loved this place. Knowing how few HOAs allow under 12-month rentals, we think is a great value add for resale down the road, and being in one of the only HOAs that we know above that allow short-term rentals, or 30 days minimum. Not saying we wouldn't have bought it anyways, as we kind of still focus on the long-term side of house hacking, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't make a strong case in our decision. It gives us a little bit of flexibility if we wanted to switch to short-term rentals or midterm rentals in the future. But wrapping this up here, we also want to look at your local government regulations for short-term rentals. There are a lot of states and cities around the country that are starting to crack down on Airbnb laws, short-term rental laws. So whether you're in an HOA or not, it wouldn't hurt to just go check out your local or county website. It has all of the rules and regulations for short-term rentals in your market. But anyways, short-term rentals have become a huge sector in the real estate market in general. There have been a lot of success stories from these and tons of creative ways to start a short-term rental portfolio, specifically through house hacking. Just be sure to run the numbers properly, consider those property management aspects to it and the constant attention needed for it, along with a backup plan or exit strategy. Do all of this stuff, your house hacks could be even more profitable as a short-term rental than a long-term rental. This will only help you reach your financial goals even faster. So thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate you. If you found any value in this video, please like and subscribe. We post these videos on everything house hacking twice a week. That about wraps it up. Thank you again, and we hope to see you guys next time.